Chapter 12. Holling and I sat on his porch and chatted. It was early morning before the last day of school. The sky was clear and the early sun was bright. The air was warm and comforting. Holling said, "Well, today's the day. It's the day you children look forward to. I can remember how much I loved the last day of school." I replied, "Yeah, I'm glad it's the last day. It's been a long school year. I really hated school earlier, but I don't mind it so much now." Holling said that Miss Blair is a good teacher. I agreed. She's the best I ever had. Holling went inside and returned with 2 cups of apple cider. He handed a cup to me, and I enjoyed the good cider. "Eb, we've got our garden off to a good start. It's the best looking garden I've had in many years, thanks to you. You've been a good help. It won't be long. Corn, green beans, squash, potatoes, and more. I can't wait. We'll be eating good this summer." "Sounds good," I said. "I am looking forward to butternut squash. Mama said she'll make us a butternut pie. I hope our pumpkins do good too. Pumpkin pie for Thanksgiving. You know, a man has to put in hard work if he wants to eat good later on. We'll have to keep those weeds out." Holling smiled. "That's right. What a man has one day is because of what he did on an earlier day. Do nothing now and get nothing later. That reminds me, I think I'll go down to the hardware store later and get 2 more hoes. It's time for new hoes. I've had my old ones for as long as I can remember. We'll have to hoe that corn to keep the weeds down. I think this is the most corn I've ever had. Of course, I'm not feeding just myself this year. That's why it's our garden, Eb. It's for both of us." "Thanks, Holling. I can't wait to bring home some fresh produce for Mama and Nana Murdy." "You'd better run along. You don't want to be late for the last day of school." "Right, Holling. I lost track of time. See you this evening." I jumped off the porch and ran full speed until I got to school. I made it just before the bell rang. I sat in my desk and breathed hard as I felt sweat drip down my face. Miss Blair smiled at me. The day dragged on and I couldn't stop looking at the clock. I was more than ready for summer vacation. By the afternoon, the classroom had become hot and stuffy. The windows were open, but it didn't help much. All the children looked hot and groggy, and I'm surprised some of them didn't fall asleep. My eyes were almost shut when I got a surprise. Holling walked in my classroom carrying a large cylinder carton. Holling said, "Miss Blair, the drugstore was nice enough to sell me one of their big cartons of vanilla ice cream. Would it be okay if I shared it with the children?" Miss Blair smiled. "Yes, Holling, and thank you so much. Isn't that right, children?" All of us said in unison, "Thank you, Holling." "Eb and Samuel, go down to the kitchen and borrow some bowls and spoons," said Miss Blair. Samuel and I returned from the cafeteria with bowls and spoons, and Miss Blair scooped out the ice cream for the class. The cold treat really felt great on such a hot day, and our classroom was filled with smiles. Miss Blair said, "Holling, come and get a bowl for yourself." Miss Blair filled a bowl for Holling, and he shyly took the bowl from her. Then Miss Blair made a bowl for herself. Holling and Miss Blair stood at the front of the classroom and ate together. Holling whispered something to Miss Blair. Then Miss Blair said to the class, "Holling is offering seconds if anyone wants more." Every student got up for seconds, and Holling smiled. We all finished the ice cream and felt refreshed. Miss Blair spoke up, "Class, let's go outside and play for the remainder of the day." The class cheered. We went out to the playground and ran wild. Holling and Miss Blair came outside also. There were smiling faces everywhere. The girls got the long jump rope. One girl got on each end and swung the rope while the other girls took turns jumping in the middle. The girls had various rhymes and verses they said while a girl jumped, but I didn't know any of them. One of the girls, holding the rope, turned to Holling and said, "Mr. Holling, I'm ready to jump now. Will you take my place?" Holling paused and looked confused. Then he stepped up and held the rope. He began to swing the rope, but it took a few tries for him to get in rhythm with the girl on the other end. Soon Holling had the hang of it, and soon he smiled as he swung the rope. Miss Bear walked up beside me and whispered, "I think Holling has made some new friends today." We all returned to class when the day was almost over. Miss Bear insisted that Holling come in with us. Miss Bear said, "Class, thank you for a wonderful school year. I've enjoyed having each of you in my class. Have a great summer." The bell rang and the children ran through the door to start their summer vacations. I stayed behind to wait for Holling. "Holling, let's walk home together." "Okay, Eb." Miss Bear grabbed me and gave me a hug. "Eb, I've seen that nice garden you and Holling have been working on. I expect you to bring me some fresh garden food this summer." "I will, Miss Bear." Miss Bear laughed and winked at Holling. "You two men behave yourselves this summer." Holling and I walked out together.